What up, guys? What up? What up? Getting a few things set up, man, and we'll get started. So been having some few issues with OBS Studio. I end up like a dummy, and this again, I made the mistake too many times, and I should have learned from this mistake. Anytime there's a new update, do a review. Do a quick Google on that update to make sure there's no issues, and of course. There were issues. So either way, what happened with OBS Studio is I updated to the new version, which is 28. Is it 28? I'm trying to think. Yes, I believe that it's 28. And so what happened? My Stream Deck, which is what I use to control my scenes, right? Again, those there who just may not be familiar, scenes are when you switch, like from this to this. I have a device. I just push a button. I have everything labeled, color coded, things of that nature. Well, that doesn't work anymore. So that kind of sucks. It's like, all right, well, man, that doesn't work. And it's something. Of course, as soon as I Googled it, it came up right away. Don't install, don't update until Elgato releases a new update for Steam Deck because of these issues. And like a dummy, I updated first. So of course the fix is uninstall, reinstall the previous version. Pretty sure I could find it, man. I went and tried to find it, couldn't easily find the previous version. So like, damn. I mean, not on their website, anyways. So I'm gonna have to probably go on somebody else's website or something, which is always kind of iffy, right? Try to figure that out. So we'll see what happens with that. So, but today, man, we're gonna be talking about Redshift and talking about Spectrum Redshift. Hey, man, what up? What up? How you doing? Doing good. When is August giveaway? So I'm actually gonna be doing something slightly different on the giveaways than what I previous. So the way I have done already a few giveaways, and normally what I've done is I make a video. I kind of mention it like, hey, I'm doing a giveaway on this date, and then what happens? A lot of people come. One of the things that I'm gonna be doing differently though, but I'm trying to work out the kinks right now is, I realized and I noticed that a lot of people that were coming to the giveaway were not really people that were following me. Now some were. There were some people that do follow me and do all and everything. So for those guys, no issues. But there was a lot of people that just showed up, which makes sense, right? They say, hey, free giveaway, free item, let me just show up. And and then we had issues in our previous giveaway where I think we had at the most we had like 15 people on the live streams. But whenever we got to the point of doing the giveaway, like, all right, everybody enter in who wants me to enter in your name to the giveaway, ended up being like 23, 25 people. So of course, like, well, how do we get 25 people, but there's only 15 people at the max, right? I think there at that time it was really more like 11 people in the actual live stream, but there were like 25 entries. So like, damn, that doesn't make sense. That's kind of odd. So of course it's like, all right, there's either bots involved, there's other stuff. So I am gonna do it, but I need to figure out a better way to do it. And I think the way I'm gonna end up doing it is I'm not gonna broadcast it. I am gonna do it, but it's gonna be more without promoting it, I guess. So like the people that are actually on the live stream that do join the live stream and that are part of the live stream, will be part of that. I mean, I kind of want to promote it, but at the same time, it's like I'm trying to figure out a nice balance, man. And I haven't really. I'm trying to figure out what's the best solution. I think if I use Nightbot, that helps. Nightbot, I know I could put some settings there that ultimately allow it to limit like who could enter in. Like for example, I could put a limit there that you have to be on the live stream for at least 5 minutes or more, and if which means anybody who literally just joins in for a minute as I'm doing a giveaway won't be able to enter in through a Nightbot. So there's little stuff like that I could do. I'm trying to just figure out the best way, because I do feel like the majority, not all, but the majority of people that did join the previous giveaway really were not part of my stream. Again, I think some of them are followers, but I think a lot of them were not, and I can't really tell if they were bots or there were people with multiple accounts. So I don't know, man. I need to try to figure that out. Try to figure out the best way. This happened on another channel. I have seen it. You can do anyone with Twitter or Instagram are allowed. Hello, sir. Hey, Python developer. Doing good, man. I'm doing good. What kind of tequila? So I really didn't buy, and I didn't buy a new flavor tequila. I bought my go-to, Sweato. So it's the one with the bunny, right? The bunny tequila. So this is one of my favorite tequilas on a budget, because it's not expensive. It actually went up. Let me rephrase it. It did go up in price a couple of dollars, but still, it's like $35. For the quality, again, this is like good quality tequila, very tasteful, flavorful. Dude, that's awesome. That's like real good price for tequila. Real good price, because I can tell you right now, the good stuff tequila. Normally it's no less than 40. But you gotta find it. You gotta see who sells it, where can you buy it, all these other factors, and sometimes they're hard to find. But that's a bottle that, at least where I go, I could find it. Real reasonable price, and it's good. It's my go-to, one of my favorites. But yeah, man. So how about yourself, man? How you doing? Everything's good with you? I'm doing pretty good, man. Kind of dealing with like a sinus infection earlier this week. Kind of threw out my schedule. So I stream on Twitch on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I didn't stream Tuesday because, man, my allergies are just, my sinus and everything was all jacked up. And it kind of got me behind a little bit too, doing some YouTube videos as well. So, but I will be making some videos over the weekend. So I'll probably end up pushing maybe like 3. I have one that's already made. I just have to edit it, get that edited out. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And then there's a few more videos that I have on the queue to kind of test out and kind of walk through and, do some videos related to that. Hey, Sam. What up, Sam? How you doing? Doing good, man. Friday night, our live stream. Got my tequila, so I'll be drinking my tequila. And yeah, man. I know. So today we're gonna be talking about Redshift Spectrum. So we'll kind of get that set up and kind of go through the process. I need to get some. I should have got some sample files. Maybe you know what? I think I may have some sample files somewhere. So I'll try to find some, but. Or no, if not, just generate some sample files. But yeah, man, we're gonna go through that today and kind of play around with that. I actually worked on a project, man, not that long ago, where we kind of did the exact same thing that we're gonna do with AWS Spectrum, but on Azure, right? So I don't know if any of y'all use Azure, or maybe if you have to use it in your organization or not. So of course, in Azure, the equivalent of a S3 bucket is storage blob. So that's kind of like the equivalent, right? S3 for AWS, storage blob for Azure. And then you could use Synapse in Azure, and a SQL, a serverless SQL instance, which is kind of the equivalent of what we would do with with Redshift Spectrum. And the concept is all the same, right? Where in this project we had to create external tables, which is what we're going to do for AWS Redshift Spectrum as well. And then we have to point these external tables to a S3 bucket. which again, same thing, which we're gonna do in this case. And I think for this project, we were dealing with CSV files. Um, so same thing, right? We'll create some CSV files, dump it into S3 bucket, and kind of do the same thing. It's actually very easy to do in Azure. It's like anything, right? There's a learning curve here to get started, but once you get started, it's actually not that bad. It's pretty straightforward. It makes sense, anyways. Um, all right, guys, let me get my environment set up, and we'll get started and kind of start walking through that process. So let's see. Let me see what I don't need open so I could close that out. Yeah, let me close this out. Let me connect to AWS. In case we have more columns, say 20 columns, is Redshift Spectrum good to use? Will it be complex to create table commands? So I think the benefit where Redshift Spectrum comes in, like let's put it this way: if you have reference tables, so let's say you're dealing with a small table, right? Table that maybe has 100 rows, and it's some kind of like a reference table, like a data set. That in that scenario, it makes more sense to actually create a table and load the data into the table. So on the flip side, then it becomes, well, when do you use S3 files to be able to query like as external tables? And that's when you use big data sets. So let's say you have a reference data set that's only 100 rows. That makes more sense. Put that into a table. And let's say you have a sales data source. That sales data source contains 50 million rows. I'm just making up some kind of big number, right? But 50 million rows. Well, in that scenario where you have 50 million rows, that's where it makes sense to put that in S3, right? Have all the files in S3 bucket, and then create an external table. So now you have a actual table and then an external table, and you could query both of them together, just like any normal database query, right? You could do that without any issue. So that's kind of the way that would work. Like, I mean, let me put it this way. In theory, you could put everything in external tables, and that's not an issue. You could do that. But it's more so recommended to put small data sets as physical tables and large data sets as external tables, if that makes sense. Let me go ahead and log in real quick. Okay, cool. So I was talking about earlier, man, how so I use OBS Studio for my streaming, and right now I'm actually streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So just FYI, that's kind of the reason why you see the chats showing up here. So you may see some chats from Twitch, perhaps. But either way, I use OBS Studio, and they released this new update last week. And of course, like a dummy, I installed that update without checking it first. And what happens? This new update that they did does not work with my Steam Deck anymore. So I have an Elgato Steam Deck to do my scenes, right? Changing my scenes, and well, now I gotta use a mouse. It's not a big deal, but it used to just push a button, boom, and everything changes, right? I could just go and push a button, and then it will do this. Well, now I gotta like, go and grab my mouse, switch over. It's a pain in the butt. I mean, it's again not a big issue, but it sucks because I should have just waited on my update. And of course, if I would have done research the way I normally should do, I would have figured out like, hey, there's a bug, or not necessarily a bug with OBS Studio, but the update is needed, which hasn't been done yet. I could have waited, but it is what it is. I'll be back in 10 minutes, Nick, to pick up dinner. All right, cool, man, no problem. I believe Redshift Spectrum has additional costs while you're querying. Costs while you query in Redshift. So big tables with frequently accessed, it is not ideal to use. Yeah, and again, you're right. It all depends on what you're doing. Um, like a good example would be if you're generating um, weekly reports, and of course the data has to live somewhere, whether it be an S3 bucket, Redshift, whatever it may be. Then, but if you're just running this query, this process that ultimately queries and pulls all the data um, in that case, it probably does make sense to drop all of these files into an S3 bucket, and then ultimately again use Redshift Spectrum to be able to create an external table, and then join your physical tables with external tables, to run whatever process and query, and so you can generate your results, right? Whether it be for some kind of report. Again, it all depends on business case. I know the way I have used it in different scenarios, like other projects that I have worked on, a lot of the stuff, not everything, but there's a lot of stuff that's driven for like weekly or monthly deliverables, whether it be some sort of detailed reports or like summary reports, or even like dashboard reports that get converted to PDF and then send out through email once a week or whatever it is. So in those cases, because you're really just running the process once a week, um, then yeah, it probably makes a little bit more sense to just have the files in an S3 bucket. Because again, S3 bucket storage would be pretty cheap as well. It's pretty cheap. So let's go ahead and look at, because I don't think I have a Spectrum service set up, so we may have would have to get that set up real quick. So let's take let's go to AWS Redshift. So I think this cluster I have paused. I do have it paused, right? I do. I need to try the service list, because I think that would in these cases, man, would actually help out. All right, hold on. I know I saw they had some sample. Let's look at the pricing real quick, man. Uh, I know you mentioned about with Redshift you can start small, blah blah blah. Yep, that makes sense. I want to see the pricing on. So let's see. So we have, this is what I have right now. Choose the best clustering configuration. Okay. Run SQL query directly against the data in your. Yep. Okay, that makes sense. And you simply pay for the number. Which you're right, because I know in Azure that's how it is as well. Hey, what up, Random? What up, man? Hey, man. So I'm gonna be on later, Random. Just FYI. I still have your keyboard, so I'll connect with you later on. But you can let me know where you want me to mail the keyboard to, right? Whatever address you want me to ship it to. I already shipped out all the other goods, but man, I completely forgot to get your info to be able to ship the keyboard to you. But again, man, we'll talk later about that. But just want to bring it up before I forget. So it's $5 per terabyte of data scan. I'm trying to think, man. I know in Azure, what was it, man? I looked into it. So if you have a table and there's a logs and tells you the details in Azure, um, using Azure Synapse, where when you query a external table, right? Um, I want to say it brings back all of the data of the table, and then it applies the filter. Um, which is kind of odd. But I'm trying to think if something like that occurs here. Doesn't make sense though if that's the case, but if it is, then it would be bringing back a lot of data all the time. 10 megabyte minimum, which is I think that's very similar to Azure as well. Sometimes when you use Spectrum tables and Glue, I get a 503 slowed down response. Interesting. So it almost seems like it's not like something is happening there. That is odd. Because if you're getting a 503, that means it's not available and the service is not available. So, are you using like Redshift serverless or something? Because I wonder if it needs to start it up and you're trying to get data from a service that is not on. Um, Hey, what up? What up? What up, man? Hey, Lou. Great video about SharePoint S3 backup. Very. Oh, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad. I'm glad you're liking the videos. So there'll be some more videos coming out um, tomorrow. Actually, well, I'm gonna be editing them tomorrow, and then I'll be releasing them throughout the week. So right now I'm trying to put a schedule of releasing at least at the minimum 3 to 4 videos a week. Try to do more again, but just it depends, right? There's a lot going on. Some videos a little bit more easier to make. Others take a little bit more time because I got to do some testing and figure certain things out, and things may not work as smoothly as I think. But nevertheless, the plan is 3 to 4 videos per week. Not counting the live stream, of course, like today. So yeah, man, there'll be more videos coming, and so there. I talked about it. When did I talk about this? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. There's some things that I'm gonna be working on my channel. So I got some plans, some ideas. I'm gonna start putting them to action. So you're gonna start seeing new stuff coming up. I'm gonna be getting a Discord server set up, so like that again, people that are kind of have a community where people could join, and they're gonna be all part of a lot of these topics that we're talking about, right? There'll be a channel for like Python, a channel for AWS and Azure, and SQL, for example, probably to start off with for now. Some of the things that I'm going to be doing, so like that, as the community grows, people that have knowledge could kind of share that knowledge with each other within the community. I'm going to be bringing on people. The plan is I'm going to start bringing in people on my live stream. Different people that are skilled in different areas. People that are skilled when it comes to resumes, right? To kind of help people that are looking for jobs. People that are skilled in machine learning and AI, for example. People that are that have advice to kind of give to new grads, people that just graduated, like how do I get my first job, or not even graduate, people that came out of boot camps, like, and things of that nature, like how do I get that first dev job, right? How do I, especially if I'm self-taught and came out of a boot camp, how do I do these things? So either way, that's the plan. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening with the channel. and I'm gonna be, hopefully things come together as time goes on. Uh, hey, Chris, what up, man? What up? What up? Hey, I just noticed that the chat not show up. Oh, it didn't show up. Why is it muted? There it goes. It was hidden for some reason. Okay, cool. But yes, there's a lot of things that gonna start. We're gonna start. It's gonna start happening. Like I'm trying. There's a lot of videos I'm trying to make as well, and there's a lot of. And of course, I've been getting busy too. So I'm actually gonna start building a little small team of people. Initially, it is gonna be, of course, volunteer to begin with. Anybody who wants to, and then of course the whole purpose behind it is that we get a lot of the requests. They'll be able to help out, do some of the testing, and then I'll be making the video. Then we pushing out more content and providing support as well. So as people, I get a lot of emails like, "Hey man, can you help me out with this?" Or "Hey, I had a question about this." There'll be a little small team behind the scenes where they'll be able to jump on these questions and respond back. Or we'll be able to direct people to the Discord server. Like, hey, there'll be a help section on Discord. Go there, put down your question, and we'll have people in the community like that are helping behind the scenes. They will interact and try to answer these questions through Discord and stuff like that. So either way, man, there's gonna be some things happening soon when it comes to my programming channel and things of that nature. So I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna help out, and like that, we'll be able to get other people skill based as well. Like, I think I'm good at what I do, but at the same time, I don't know everything either, right? By all means, there's a lot of things that I know other people are way better than I am. What's the Discord link? So I actually don't have it yet. I'm working on it. So hopefully in the next week or two, that will be set up. And then I'm going to add the Discord link to my channel in the About section. So you'll find it there. But also I'll provide it throughout the live streams as well. Right? So, yeah. Again, there's going to be just stuff like that. Because I think it's going to help out, man. It's going to help move to make... it's going to be very beneficial, I feel like. And it's going to be keeping the ball moving on making sure that... we're helping people out as well, right? As we kind of build a little team, we'll be able to provide more support. Like again, these like real issues, not just like, hey, we're making a tutorial of X, Y, and Z, and no, but there's a lot of questions and a lot of issues that people need help with, like real issues that they're using for their job. And that's where I think we could come in, me and of course this small group that behind the scenes, and we will be able to tackle more of these issues and be able to solve more of these problems. Because right now I'm a one-man show, right? Just kind of I am doing everything by myself, and so yeah, there's only so much I could do for sure. It makes us so happy when YouTube sends a notification that there's a new video. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. So and again, I want to push out more, but there's only so much I could push out for now. But I think as the channel grows, as the Discord grows, get that set up and that grows, there'll be a community there. And then I'm kind of working on trying to build this small team as well, that will kind of help out behind the scenes on solving some of these problems and responding back to some of these questions that people have and things of that nature. So I think that'll speed up the process and kind of help build again, somewhere where people could come and provide their questions, like, hey, I have an issue with this, like very specific, right? That's very niche, that maybe it's very hard to find like a video that exists out there already. So as we solve problems behind the scenes, what we will do, of course, as well, we'll be making video content out of that. So we will be solving a problem, and on top of that, we'll be making content. So like that, we'll make a video out of it, and then going forward, there's like a record of how we solve the problem. So for other people that have the same problem, there'll be a video, right? They could go and take a look at, and hopefully that would help them out. That's kind of the plan, right? That's the plan. Yeah, great idea. I've been I'll be down to volunteer. Oh man, appreciate it. By the way, can you talk about your background? What's your story? Found your channel recently. So yeah, man, I'll talk about it real quick. My background, I've been a developer now for some years. Like I've been probably Python a good 9 years or so, maybe even 10. But I'm gonna say around 9 years or so. SQL probably around 12 years. Is That's kind of my background. Started with SQL first, but I don't have traditional education. I didn't go to college per se. Let me rephrase it. So I did go to college initially when I was younger, um, but I end up stopping like halfway. I was like, you know what, this it's not for me. Um, and then so I just got a normal job when and I worked at a warehouse, and just kind of bust my butt, kind of moved up a little bit by little bit, was in that role at the warehouse, and but I was in the warehouse for some years, and the way I got my foot in the door to IT, because again, I was in the warehouse, so I was like a warehouse lead at the time. Again, nothing technical, nothing like that, but I have always had a tech background. Like before programming, I was into hardware, so I used to, disassemble my computer, upgrade components, put new GPU, RAM, all kinds of components and stuff like that. So I was more like a hardware guy when I was younger, I guess, not a software guy. So I was always into tech, but it was just a different kind of tech, I guess. Um, when as I was a lead in the warehouse, I got to the point where like, man, I want to do something else. Like I don't want to be stuck here, dude. I want to do something else. But instead of waiting for opportunity to open up, something got to make your own opportunity. And one of the things that kind of got my foot in the like not just in the door, but at least exposed to IT was um, I noticed that at the time, this is back then, BlackBerry was very popular. So BlackBerry, this is before iPhone was like the king of cell phones, right? Back then it was BlackBerry. So BlackBerry was one of the customers for the company I worked for. Like it was their big customer. Um, I was like, you know what? Let me create these process flows, these documentations of everything that we're doing, because I think BlackBerry would like it. Like the people that that are running the operations, because they were like on site as well. And I did, and we showed it to them in one of the meetings. Because I got asked to join one of the meetings, I showed them what I did. Dude, they were like, "Dude, this is awesome! Like, we want this." Like, they literally told my boss, "Hey, I want him to do this now." Like, I want like they. I mean, they pretty much again they dictated to my boss. I don't care what he's doing. I want him to start building more process flows for all of our processes. So my boss like, "Hey, can't argue with the client, so here's your new role." So I started building all these processes, documentation for all the processes that we had. Because we used to like handle all the reverse logistics for BlackBerry, the company that I worked for, anyways. So maybe like a year later, the IT manager was like, "Hey, we're gonna work on this new project where we're gonna build a system like in house, and but we need somebody that knows all the processes." So that's kind of where my boss told them like, "Hey, well that's Lewis. Like he's the one that built all of the process flows for how everything flows from beginning to end, like how it goes down the conveyor belt, and how this stuff gets scanned into the system and all that kind of stuff, right? Like he built all the documentation. He knows all the in and outs of everything. So like, cool. We want him to just help us out, not be part of IT, but just come and help us out, and because we need some help to give a guidance so we know how to build a system and how the system should be built. So I spent a couple of months working with them. We're like, all right, this is how everything works and so on. And then so what ended up happening was towards a couple of months after they started the project of building the system, we got a new CEO. The CEO that came in was like, hey, stop that project. There's no need to build a system no more. We're going to buy this system that already exists. Again, like a SaaS platform. We're going to buy license of the SaaS platform, and this is what we're going to use. So of course now because things change, we're like, okay, well, damn, we're not gonna build a system no more. And then that's kind of where I got kind of asked, like, all right, everybody role change. Like the developers that were working, they didn't get fired, but they're like, hey, you're not getting fired, but we're gonna need you to now to get familiar with the system so you can at least help out with how the system works, things of that nature. Um, I was asked to do the same thing, so I was like learning the system. So it was like, all right, let me learn the system, the in and outs, and how we could incorporate the system into the current process that we have. So that's kind of what I was learning. The way I got into IT, again, I still haven't mentioned how I got my foot into IT, was that the C# developer, he was asked, like, hey, can you create these SQL views for us? Because the new system, you could create SQL views for some of the reports. And he didn't like, again, I came to realize that there's a lot of programmers that do not like dealing with SQL. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I come to realize there are a lot of programmers that do not enjoy coding in SQL. So, or working with SQL, better yet. So either way, he was asked to do that. Dude, he was pissed off. Like, man, I don't want to do it. This is not my job. Blah blah blah. Just whatever, right? And then of course I saw him doing it. And I was just like, dude, what's that? Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, this is just SQL. I'm writing a SQL statement for this view. But there was, stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm over here. Like, again, I'm look. This is my first time seeing SQL. I'm like, dude, that looks awesome. I wanna learn it. Like, can you show me? And he kind of gave me some insight. Like, yeah, here's some basic stuff. But what I did after I went home that day, I started like Googling the crap out of SQL Server. 'Cause that's what it was, SQL Server. I end up, installing SQL Express on my laptop. I end up, getting a database that came with it, VentureWorks or whatever. I think that's what it was. And I started just playing around with it and, just learning hands-on, reading, testing, study, whatever, man. I did it for like 2 weeks. But after about a week or so, I was like, dude, because he was still working on it. And the reason why it took him so long to build it doesn't take that long to build a query, but it took him that long because he had to get familiar with the schema of the system. And the schema was massive. So this database had, dude, probably like 4,000 tables. Like, it was a big. So this system was very big because it had accounting, operations, warehouse, shipping, like so many different modules, so many different functionalities. So from a back end, you're dealing with like thousands of tables, man. So it was a big database. So there's a learning curve. Either way, I told him, like, dude, after a week or so, like, hey, can I take that off your hands? Like, let me give it a chance because I know you don't want to work on it. Let me see if I could do it. He's like, sure, go ahead. So he gave it to me. He was like, man, you go, like, here, you do it. The only guidance he did give me was like, hey, so these tables here, like these few tables, these are the ones that I was able to identify that we need to pull data from. And then, of course, I figured out like 2 or 3 other tables after that. But either way, he kind of gave me at least like a semi head start on telling me the tables. So I took that view, I started working on it, and I was working like literally, I was working on it after hours. So as soon as I finished working, which I already worked like 10 hours a day, I was going home working another 4 or 5 hours on this view. And it took a couple of days, but after a couple of days, I put something together. Messy as hell. Like, it was not efficient, optimal at all, but it worked. It gave us back the results we needed, and it gave us correct data, and it worked. So because of that, the IT manager saw that. He was like, dude, you did this? I was like, yeah. He like, do you know SQL? I'm like, well, I learned. I just learned like maybe a week ago. I've been, studying and learning on my own. So he was pretty impressed. He was like, dude, like, come, I want you to work for us. Part of IT. And that was how I got my foot into IT. Now, ever since then, I've pretty much been in IT since then. And this was some years back. And that's kind of how I got, again, how to make opportunity, right? I have to, first was by creating processes and documents that nobody asked me to do. And I just did it on my own time when I had time, but I knew there was value into that. And of course, I had my opportunity to show it to the client, which BlackBerry was our biggest client at the time, and they were very impressed. So they were like, dude, this guy, I want him to start doing this for all of our processes. So that right there, kind of, I created my own role in that at that point. And then it just happened to be that there was an opportunity that came up later where IT was like, hey, we're going to build a new system. We need somebody to kind of help us to know how the current process works, so we know how to build the system to fit the current flow. And that was me, because I built all the processes and documentations, like process flows. So that was me. So like, hey, that's Lewis. He could work with y'all, and I did. And then of course the third, when I look back at it, the third opportunity was when I started learning SQL. I saw somebody doing it. I was very interested in it. Like, dude, like, again, I didn't even do it from a sake of, oh, I want to work for IT. Let me do that. I did it more because I was like, dude, that looks cool. I want to learn how to do that. So I went home, started learning the crap out of it. And then on top of that, I even asked them, like, hey, let me take that off your plate. And I just happened to, again, I say lucky because maybe if it was somebody that was more threatened, like, oh, I don't want this guy to take my job kind of mentality, he would have not never showed me nothing, would have never, given me that. But because he hated SQL, again, he hated SQL that much, he was like, dude, here, take it on my plate, you handle it. And then, of course, I was able to be successful. Now, again, SQL, I look back at it because I did save the original the view that I created, and I found it like I think it was like last year. So I had one of my folders that I still had, because I was like cleaning out stuff in my folders. It's messy, dude. It was like subunion and subunion and subunion and subunion. There were like 6-7 subunions. Now, like, dude, again, not optimal, but it worked. At the end of the day, business operational people, they could care less how the code looks underneath. All they care that it worked. And in that case, it worked. And that was enough for the manager to say, hey, come work for us. And then, dude, after that, pretty much been in IT, man, after that. So, and again, that's why I'm a big advocate of, like, I don't got nothing against education. Like, anybody who's going to, let's say, get a CS degree, going down that path, dude, again, it does help out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it is gonna be the path's gonna be a bit easier if you go down that path. So there's nothing wrong with that. But my thing about it is that there's some people that maybe don't want to accumulate that kind of debt, or some people that maybe they're just older now. They're like, dude, I can't go back to college, man. I got kids, I got a family. I don't have time to do that. And for me, those are the ones that I'm trying to like touch as well. Like, dude, you could still do it. It's gonna be tough, not gonna be easy, but you can, man. Like, you could learn on your own, but you gotta sacrifice, man. I'm telling you. Like, I spent hours, man. I recall back then I was working like for that company at least 10 hours a day. And then on top of that, I used to go home and then learn like SQL or work on the view and that kind of stuff for many hours more. Dude, there was no watching Netflix. There was no hanging out with friends. I mean, I was like zone in. I'm going to do this. I mean, there's a lot of, dedication, right? That you have to do and be focused and put action behind it. But it's doable. It's not going to be easy. But it is doable, man. It really is. And that's kind of the message that I do want to get out to people, that I want them to feel like, dude, well, I can't do it no more, man. My time has passed. Or maybe if I was younger, it'll be different. Like, no, man, you could do it now. But again, is it going to be easy? No. Are you going to have to bust your butt? Yes. Are you going to have to prove to people that you could do it? You are. Even when you're able to do it, you're still going to have to sometimes prove to people that you could do it, even though you could do it. And it's not going to be easy. But I would say, though, once you get your foot in the door, it becomes a lot more easier going forward. And that's all it takes, one opportunity, man. Once you get your foot in the door, it does become a lot more easier going forward. And so that's how I got my foot into IT. Now today, I actually work for myself. I have a small company. It's a tech company. We build web apps, APIs for clients, ETL processing. We process a lot of data for them, and we warehouse it for them. So data warehousing, and we warehouse it for them. And so that's kind of what I did today. Have a small team, me, one full-time employee, and one contractor. So that's kind of what I have now. And yeah, man, like as that business continues to grow, so far I've been growing year after year. It's my fourth year doing that. So if that continues to grow, then the hope would be to bring on, more people. And what I would like to do as well, and this is kind of goes with my channel, as my channel grows, and as we start building a little community with Discord and everything, be able to find people, to hire that are actually part of, our group, right? Kind of like hire within, you want to call it, So as people that are learning and following, and people, even people that are brand new, like, hey, I'm trying to get my foot in the door, I'm trying to, nobody give me an opportunity, and they know how to do the work, but then you need experience. That's where I would love, as my business grows and as the YouTube channel grows and everything as well too, to be able to hire people from that are subscribers or viewers of my channel as well, and be able to kind of give them opportunities through that method. So that's the plan. Again, that's the plan. But I know it's gonna take baby steps to get there. Not gonna get there overnight. It's gonna be a process. But I do think I can get there. We will get there. Yeah, man, I think it will be a win-win for everybody, and in many ways. My bad, guys. I missed a lot of your chats. So let me kind of go back to the chats now. So let's see. Hey Lou, do you? Oh, we are the BlackBerry boys. Oh yeah, dude. I remember BlackBerry. Here's the thing. I actually liked BlackBerries when they came out, dude. Like even today. So the phone that I have a Galaxy Fold 3. So I love my phone. This phone's awesome, dude. I love it. But dude, I don't know why. It feels like I suck at typing on the phone. Just not just that phone, even in my other normal phones that I have used in the past. I just always be fat finger other buttons or whatever. Dude, for some reason on a BlackBerry, I never had that issue. And I think it's just the feel, right? Kind of like a keyboard, you get to feel the keys. So I never had the problem of fat fingering or doing none of that stuff, which I loved, because especially if you're doing emails or whatever on the phone, dude. Just, I don't know, man. I actually was a fan of it. I get why they died, though, man. They just did not innovate, and they chose not to change. They got hard-headed, man. They're like, nope. People want business phones. They're not going to use it for personal reasons. Of course, Apple, like, dude, we're going to satisfy both business and personal. And, of course, they took over and dominated. Hey, Lou, do you also do Tableau visualization, programming, or programming only? So, I do some BI stuff. The one that I have done more has been Power BI. I have done Tableau back in the day, but I have noticed that the newer Tableau looks different. Like the Tableau, what is it called? Like the software to like the Tableau designer, I guess. At least the version that I was used to of Tableau back in the day, it looks way different. That's probably how long it's been since I have done Tableau. But what I have done lately, when I say lately, like literally 2 months ago, let's just say, I do have one of my clients where they asked for a handful of Power BI reports. So end up building 2 reports that have mini tabs of Power BI for different stuff. So yeah, man, I have done that, and of course that Power BI report that I built for them, I actually did all of the data warehousing. So we have processes that I build, like ETL processes, where I'm extracting QuickBooks Enterprise data and Excel data. I think it's Excel only. So Excel and QuickBooks Enterprise created some processes where we extract all of that data out, get it loaded to an S3 bucket, and then ultimately feeds to, in this case, a SQL Server database. And then we build some Power BI reports to connect to that, and you know, build some views and all that kind of stuff as well. So I do know how to do that, and I actually have done that. I wouldn't say that's my specialty though, but I know how to do it. Like I've done it enough where I'm very familiar with it, and I probably could make some videos over it, talking about different like how to use it and do certain functionalities. But again, I wouldn't consider myself an expert though in that area. Great story, Lou. Thanks for sharing. I do hate SQL, but I'm glad it worked for you. I'm telling you again. I'm telling you, man. Programmers and a lot of programmers do not like SQL. I came to realize that a lot of programmers do not like SQL. I think for me, the reason why I don't hate SQL, I actually started off learning SQL first, and then I learned programming later after that, and I got to learn SQL very well. Not just SQL Server, but Postgres are the two main ones, but of course also other ones like Oracle and MySQL. Um, but I became I became very familiar with it, like setting up database instances. Um, you know, again, the procedures, create a lot of complex procedures in SQL, indexing tables, database backups, generating scripts to automate that process, like doing all kinds of other, like more like admin, DBA kind of stuff. But I do prefer programming though. But I would say I don't hate SQL either. Lyrical motivation. Hey man, I mean if it helps, man, I do. I mean I hope so. Anyways, um, great message and thanks for sharing your story. All right, Sam, no, I appreciate it. Again, guys, I have a vision on how I want the channel to go and how I feel we will get there. Um, and because I am in a position right now where I do have my own, business. Again, it's a small business, but I do have my own business, and I feel as that grows, it does give me opportunity where I could hire people as well that are part of the channel, that are part of the community, and so like that, as people are learning as well, especially people that are new, like people that are just learning, and maybe they're trying to, like, again, long term, this is more long term, like maybe the next 2 years or so. But my vision that I would love for the channel to grow to, where not just that it's big, but also where we have a community, right? So we have a community and we have certain leaders in that community that could help out in different subjects. So they'll be very interactive on Discord, but also do, like in the future, our own version, our own bootcamp version. But it won't be like a 12-week bootcamp version, because I feel like that's too cramped. It'll be like a 6 months, 8 months program. And it's something that I think potentially try to do for free on top of that, as much as possible. Like, all right, try to do it for free. We open a registration for X amount of people. And like that, we'll, meet 2 times a week or something. And then we'll go over a lot of the details, the basics for people that are brand new learning programming, and try to give them hands-on experience in certain things. And then, kind of work on open source projects. And there's different things like that, right? Cause boot camps are not cheap. I hear some people pay, like 10 grand, maybe more, 12 grand for boot camps. They're not cheap, man. They're not. Awesome work. I want one day to be able to start my own business. Dude, you can. You can for sure do that, man. Do AWS work. That's how I found your channel. Okay, man, appreciate it. I love looking for AWS stuff. So I do get a lot of requests for AWS stuff, man. So there will be more stuff coming for AWS. So again, I do Python right now. The main 3 focuses is, of course, Python programming, specifically Python, AWS, and then probably Azure last. I haven't done as much Azure, but I probably will be doing a little bit more, because there are some people that use Azure. Azure has its place too. I know AWS is like the more dominant, and that's like the main one, but Azure does have its place, man, as well. There's some things that it does very well. Lou, have a good night. I'm at the fire station tonight. Oh man, okay, cool. And gotta get to sleep, but wanted to hop on and say, hang on for a bit. Cool, man. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. I'm going to school for it, and I'm interested in helping if I can. See you. Cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome, Chris. So that's Chris um, from Twitch. Because again, I'm streaming right now on Twitch and on YouTube. So I actually need to work on a project where we get data from a bank and need to store it in a database. What will be the cheapest option in AWS? Um, if you're literally trying to store it, like I guess for what purpose? Store it for the purpose of archiving, or store it for the purpose of reporting? Like you're gonna be either connecting it to a BI report, you're going to um, be generating reports, perhaps, maybe whether it be weekly or monthly reports out of that data, or you're gonna be using it for analysis. Um, so if you're trying to use it just for storage, well, you did mention stored in a database. Your cheapest option, without a doubt, is going to be a Postgres database. Postgres is like probably your cheapest option. I have used Postgres a lot. It's reliable. Um, I have never really, honestly, I don't really have any kind of issues with it. I know some people are a little concerned, but I think it's more businesses like corporations, like, oh, we want something that's not open source, right? Like Postgres, something that's more like Oracle or SQL Server. Um, but I don't think that's needed, man. At least not through my experience, in a ways. I don't think that's needed. So for sure, if you're trying to put it in a database, then yeah, that's your cheapest option. I will say is load it to a Postgres database, and that would be your cheapest option for sure. If you're trying to store the data and maybe figure out what to do with it, then of course it will be S3. Just drop it to S3 bucket. That's very cheap to store there, just the raw data, right? CSV, JSON, Parquet. Parquet, I would say probably be ideal, but assuming that's not possible, then just CSV would do. But again, database, Postgres. Dude, Postgres, you can start off with a very low basic instance. The only thing that's going to cost you is going to be storage, but the storage not expensive nowadays. It's pretty cheap. So that would be the way to go for sure. All right, God, man. I mean, honestly, time went by quick, man. I know we kind of got sidetracked a little bit, just kind of talking about different things. But it's always good, man. It's always good talking to y'all. It really is, and the live streams. So, what was I gonna do here? Let's see. Oh, we're talking about Redshift. That's what we're talking about. So, you know, I've been talking so much. I have a sip of my tequila yet. This is my first sip. Tell you, man, this tequila, it's my go-to tequila, man. I don't know how many programmers out there drink tequila, but I'm one of that does anyways. So let's see. So I'm trying to see if I could find some files real quick. Trying to see if I can find some CSV files. Thanks, Lou. Very helpful insight. Don't have tequila here, but I will get a beer. Cool, man. Beer will work too. Doesn't have to be tequila. Beer will work. Beer would work for sure. Let's see. Okay, so let me go to the cluster that I have already. I think I have this cluster paused. Yes, I do have it paused. Let's resume. Resume now. So do y'all use? I'm assuming that everybody here on the live stream, y'all use AWS primarily. Um, like, so there's a company that I used to work for a while back. I'm not gonna mention their name. You know, just I guess it wouldn't be an issue, but just in case, I don't want it to be an issue. Um, I remember when I first started, they didn't have nothing in the cloud. Everything was on prem, so they had on prem servers. Um, and then here's the thing: cloud was very popular already by then, but they had what it was though. They had a CTO that was just very old school. Like, no, just didn't trust in the cloud, I guess, or just felt that it was better to have on prem. So of course they had to buy the servers, and the issue, of course, was they had all this old hardware. Like what was their server? They were using like was it 2000 and what is it? Let me try to think. I swear that's what it is. Is it 2008 V2 or something? Let me see. Windows 2008 server. Damn, what's the name? R2. My bad. R2. That's what it was. So they had 2000. So here again, it wasn't. When did I work for that company? I worked for that company. I have been solo working for myself for like 4 years now. So we're in 2022. I think I worked for this company back in 2016, I guess, around there. So it's been a couple of years, but not crazy. So at the time, 2016 maybe, 2015, I guess, 2015. I think that's what it was. All the stuff they had were like SQL Server 2008 R2, which I think R2 came out in 2010 maybe or something like that. So I mean, it wasn't like old, but you know the hardware was actually old that they were dealing with. Um, like dude, they just had old hardware and they just everything, man, just all kinds of issues. And either way, CTO was gone. I was still working for them. That's when the new CTO came and said, dude, we're moving everything to the cloud. So they started, little bit by little bit, moving services that were on-prem databases, just servers onto AWS. Well, they did that whole exercise, started moving everything over. And by the time they got almost done moving everything over, not everything, but they got a good amount moved over, then they end up, saying, you know what? We're going to now move from AWS, we're going to move over to Azure. And there was a big issue with that, though, because it was like, dude, as you started moving everything to AWS, people, like new projects started coming up, and they started building, their process based on AWS tools, like AWS Glue, for example, which, again, you cannot take that with you, right? You could migrate a database over. That's not an issue. You could migrate a OS, an operating system. That's not an issue either. Like that kind of stuff, you could copy and clone, and then you could, copy that image over to Azure. Those are not big issues. I mean, besides there may be some networking issues here and there, getting everything reassigned to the right IP addresses or whatever, things of that nature. But besides that, the actual movement of the OS or database are not issues because they're using SQL Server anyway for their database in AWS, so that's an easy fix anyways. But the issue is they started building stuff on AWS tools like Glue, like Lambda, for example. Well, you cannot migrate that over to Azure easily. So what you got to do now is figure out, well, what is the equivalent of that in Azure? So now you got to figure out what tool it is, and then you kind of have to rebuild it. In theory, you got to rebuild whatever it is that you built, rebuild it in Azure for it to fit. Now, I'm not saying it's not doable. It is, but it's a pain in the butt though doing it. Um, Let me move this to the side. Cool. The only reason I can think of moving from AWS to Azure is cost. The AWS is far. So you're 100% right, dude. That's exactly the reason why. So I did ask because I remember I talked to my boss at the time. Like, dude, why are they moving from AWS to Azure? Like, to me, it would have made sense to just go to Azure to begin with. But why, after you have built everything in Azure, like a lot of stuff been built, new stuff, old stuff that got migrated from on-prem, got migrated to AWS. So like, dude, just doesn't make sense to me. And then of course the response was like that company got a big discount with Azure, Microsoft pretty much. I don't know how big the discount was, but let me put it this way: if I were to guess, because I was familiar to some degree how many servers we have and database servers and operating systems and stuff. There was a good chunk of EC2 instances, things of that nature. Me guessing, like ballpark figure, they were spending, if I were to guess, at least 50,000 a month is what I would get, at least in a way. It could probably be more, maybe 100,000 a month, but I'm gonna say at least 50,000 a month is what they were spending on services, whether it be database services, just EC2 instances, for servers, because there were servers they ran SSRS processes. There was another server like RDS instances for dev, pre-prod, and then prod. And then a lot of these servers, they were like the RDS instances were big instances too, because they wanted to make sure everything mirrored each other. So like it was easy, like, dude, $1,000 or maybe $1,500 for one each server. So down you got 3 dev, pre-prod, and then production, and then you're talking about 1,500, maybe let's say 1,500 each. So that right there alone is, what, $4,500, and that's only the stuff that I knew of. I know there was other stuff going on too, other projects, other organizations using stuff, and what was happening too, though, and again, this is probably the way it was not managed properly either. What was happening, for every project that came up, everybody just spin up their own RDS instance for the database. And then for every new new app or whatever that was needed, everybody just spin up a whole new OS, a EC2 instance. So again, that's why I say, if I were to guess, they were spending at least 50,000 a month easy. But I wouldn't be surprised for like 100,000 a month or even more, because of the way it was being managed properly. Like a lot of the stuff could have been managed better, where you could have certain processes run on one server. You could have certain databases potentially sharing the same, not the same database, but at least the same instance, where you just create a different database in the instance for different projects or whatever. But they weren't doing that. They were just spinning up their own RDS instance for each project, pretty much. So either way, but it sounded like Microsoft told them, at least that's what I heard, that it was like literally like, all right, you spending how much for what you're doing? You could have the same thing that you're having over there for us, and it was like a pretty steep discount. I don't know how much, maybe 20% discount. But again, if you're spending 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, and they say 20% discount, dude, that's a pretty nice little chunk, man. 100,000 a month, they just say, They give you 20% discount. That 20,000 savings a month. So you add that up, probably it's around a quarter million a year. So the thing about it though, the amount of work and effort that's gonna take to now migrate everything over, it's gonna take probably a good 2-3 years to recoup that cost. Because now you're gonna have to again put more effort to move all the services over from AWS. Again, I'm not talking about database stuff, but like the actual services like um, Glue. Like the one that I remember that was being used a lot was Lambda and Glue. Those are the two main ones that I'm familiar with. It was being heavily used. Lambda and Glue. I'm trying to think what else was being used. Besides that, it would have been what else? Just RDS instances and EC2 instances are the only other things that were being used heavily. But in my mind, those are a lot easier to migrate over compared to services like Glue and Lambda. So what is Azure's version of Lambda? It's functions. I think that's what it's called. Azure Functions is it's what it's called on their side. And I have played around with it and have used it. Um, for some things, I would say it works very smoothly. Other stuff like we're dealing with dependency files and things of that nature. I don't. I want to say I don't. I don't think it worked as smoothly as it does in Lambda. Lambda is a lot easier. I feel like you just compile your zip file, upload it, and you're good to go. Where with Azure Functions, it's a different process to deploy. Um, I don't know. I had issues with it for some reason. Maybe it could have been the package that I was dealing with because I think one of the packages had C compiled files, and maybe that's what it was. But I do recall having some issues though when I was playing around with it. Man, time went by quick, man. It's already 10:15. Is Google even a player in cloud world? I feel like most people choose between Azure and AWS. Dude, they're not. I'll tell you right now, Google is not a player at all. Um, like they're making money by all means. I'm not to say that they're not making money. They're making billions of dollars in that market. But when you look at the actual let's see if I can find that real quick. I know I saw it the other day. Let's see. Cloud. Um, Market share. Let's see if it shows me cloud market share. I saw this pie chart the other day. Maybe this is it. So, like for example, man, I need a. Why is this not being moved? So this kind of crap, I don't like accepting cookies. So what I do in this case is, let's go to the inspection. I'm gonna find this bad boy, which is this div here. Yep. Then I'm gonna delete element. Perfect. So that's my workaround to get that away without having to accept cookies. I don't. This is not the one that I saw, but this may still show first quarter 2022. So if we look at first quarter 2022, so AWS is at 33%, and it's actually higher. Like it's been going 31, 32, 32, 33, 33. And then, of course, you have Microsoft Azure at 21% overall. So these two combined, dude, it's over 50%. And then look at where Google fits in the mix, dude, 8%. Like, again, it's something, right? It's a share of something. But, dude, it's not much at all. Like, 8% of the market. If anything, you look at the previous quarter, it actually went down. it had 9% share and went down to 8% share. And then you just look throughout history, it has always been 7%, 6. At one point, man, even back in the day, it seemed like it was actually higher, 8, 9.5%. And then it just, I think that's the highest they have been, 9%. Can't get past that mark. And then of course others, my guess would be DigitalOcean. I don't know, man. There's a lot of little players out there as well. Here's the thing: I call them little players, but a lot of these companies, dude, they may be bringing in $1 million a year, $1 billion a year. That's a lot. That's not pennies, man. It's a lot. But when you compare it to these guys that bring in billions, like tens of billions, even like hundreds of billions, dude, they just don't compare. I don't know. I don't think it showed the actual figures. That's kind of what I wanted to see. The actual but either way, you can see AWS, dude. It's almost like 50% more than Azure. That's how much ahead AWS is. Azure, we need to get 50% more growth in order to meet up with AWS, which is kind of crazy. I remember Firebase used to be so popular. Now it's kind of so like for me. Whenever I hear Firebase, I feel like Firebase is more used for tutorial projects or just like random projects of that sort. It's really the only time I see people like talk about it. Like even like YouTubers or whatever, like, oh, we're gonna build this app and we're gonna use Firebase, but it's all like for the purpose of a tutorial video of like how to learn to program in JavaScript, for example. But we're gonna use Firebase, so it's like, but at the same time, we're like, okay, like, um, I'm more curious on how it's being used in actual, real world scenario, like real companies who actually use it. I'm pretty sure there are companies out there that use it, and there are like some, startups and stuff of that nature, but it's not a big player though. I mean, um, for me, Firebase makes more sense for somebody who's trying to spin up a quick app and just kind of get things going quick. Because it does have some functionality that works well for like mobile, APIs and things of that nature. Um, so like, and that's where it has certain functionality that just kind of works well to kind of get started, right? Um, when it comes to like here, I guess there's some companies that use it, but again, man, a lot of companies use more than just one kind of service, anyways. So like Netflix, I mean, dude, Netflix, like Google, a lot of the companies, they don't use one programming language. They're using a handful of programming languages. So it just kind of depends on what's being used. But there's certain things that I mean this does well if you're trying to like do something quick that's going to be easily integrated with your mobile app and integrate just kind of get everything flowing smoothly. Yeah, you could do this. I think the downfall is like, okay, well now you're stuck to that because if you're ever trying to leave, you can't leave. Firebase is part of Google's service, so you're stuck. It's kind of like if you were to build everything in, I don't know, I'm going to pick AWS Glue or one of their services, right? You got all this stuff and all this logic built on their services. Well, now, if for some reason you're trying to leave AWS because, I don't know, it got too expensive or whatever the reason is, dude, you can't move that easy no more because you build everything around their services. You're kind of stuck to some degree in a way, right? You're going to have to rebuild everything over if you do move, which is not always ideal. Um, Yeah, for sure. A lot of people who watch these videos kind of get stuck in tutorial hell because they can't apply what they see in this video into real projects. Dude, that is so true, man. Like that happens. I think that happens more often than not, which is why you have a lot of new programmers. You know, they go through all these tutorials, but they don't really know how to implement what they're learning in real world applications. Um, it's one of those deals where, um, at least, so even myself, like I make tutorials, I make videos, I guess. But I try to, as much as possible, pick subjects that are based on real issues, that are solving a real problem or of some sort. Um, and because I do a lot of software development, I have a lot of scenarios. I have worked on different stuff to try to solve this problem or try to do this. And of course, I'm getting a lot of feedback from people, emails of, hey, how do we solve this problem? So of course, as I start solving and answering these questions and solving these problems, then of course I make a video related to that because it's something that's real that people are asking. I want to say every that I could recall, every question that I have received, um, related, like, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Has all been related to their job. I don't think I have got anybody that have reached out to me and say, hey, how do I solve this problem? And because I'm working on this tutorial and I'm just learning. I just haven't got that yet. Maybe I will one day, but so far I have not. Everybody that has reached out to me, either reached out to me in the form of a one-on-one meeting, because I do allocate some time for me to meet with people throughout the week, like one-on-one on a Zoom call, or through the form of email. It has always been an issue where people say, yeah, I'm trying to solve the problem for my work, or I'm trying to do this for my work, or it's all work related. Because again, that is where you get your real experience, right? You're trying to solve real problems. You get stuck trying to solve these issues, and that's where going to be utilizing your skills for the most half. Yeah, your tutorial about SharePoint and S3 using Power Automate solved the real problem that I'm having. I just need to figure out how to trigger the upload only when there's a file change. So that is doable, and that would be through Power Automate. There is a section, and let me open it up right quick. I could connect to my account. So let's go to Power Automate real quick. I don't think I have that job anymore, man. I think I actually deleted it because so I need to re-sign in, or no. Okay, so I'm good. Let me see. Yeah, I don't have that job anymore, which is fine. It's not a big issue. But what I probably need to look at, what I wanted to look at here would be let's do SharePoint. Let's look at templates. We could do update. When a file is added, approve file used no. When existing list. So there is I'm trying to just see if there was a template I could use real quick to show you. Let's do SharePoint new. Send a customized email. Send a customized email when a new file is added. When a new item is added. See, I mean, technically it's something like this, but instead of sending it through email, it'll send it to the SFTP site, for example. But let me just click on it. You want to kind of show you. I could make a video related to this, but just kind of want to show you that. So just like we have our properties, I don't know. Let me just kind of click on something. development site. Let me find a folder, documents. So under documents, shared docs, data, 2022, they just say sales. So that's the folder I'm looking for. So this is looking for when a new file is created properties. So it's going to trigger some action, right? In this case, it's going to grab that file information and load it. But I guess what I was trying to say here is, just like the way, instead of sending the email, in my process, of course, in the video, we upload it to an SFTP site. But in this, and you could tell, and just like the way we're in this email, it's only going to send an email on a new file. So let me go to add action, and let me search for SharePoint. All right, SharePoint. Let's see. There should be one on like modified documents. Update file property. Let's see what this says. Update file properties. No, that's not it. Updated item. Nope. File up, no, update file. Let me see what this represents. Enter SharePoint size, select the blah blah blah. No, that's not it. So I know we have this step, which is on new. I think you mentioned though you wanted it to be based on change as well, right? Or I guess on change. Like the modified date. I mean, I guess technically do it on both, either new or modified. But in this case, you would do it on new. So this would trigger that based on new when a file is created. Let me go back and see. There should be one for modified. Let's see. Get file properties, update, but this is too, I don't want to update file properties. Create new folder, nope, create file. Get file properties. So maybe it is get file properties. So get the properties saved in the column in the library for all folders and files stored. You can also filter down to the item that matches the condition and apply to each scenario. Is usually used to work with the output. When using this with the on-prem data gateway, the name of the library, I don't think that's it. So I need to play around with it, but I know there is a way, and that's the way in my mind it would work, right? It would be based on either new files or modified files. So when that occurs, then you could have I'm trying to think of how did I do it on mine. I believe on mine, I don't know if I did it on the video, if I did it trigger based. Maybe I did. And by trigger based, I mean when there's new files, or if I did it schedule. So if it's scheduled, it just runs and pulls all the data. But I think in this case, if you go down the path of doing it by new file or modified file, you could probably do it trigger based, which means every time there is a new file or a modified file, it'll take that file and ultimately, download it to your SFTP side, which again ultimately it's your S3 bucket behind the scenes. I think that's the way it would be done in those scenarios. Yeah, I don't have my job anymore, so I need to go back and view the video of that. But I know that ability does exist. You got to see which one's the right one. Like which one would be the get list? Maybe let me do get item from a SharePoint list. Nope. Get files, which is ultimately we want to get the properties saved in the column. Oh, this is properties only. So never mind, that's not it. Well, I guess it would be it. This is the same thing. What it would? Yeah, never mind. So that should work as well. And this is all of the properties. Yeah, I need to play around with it, but I know there's a way to do it. There is a way to do it. Uh, Again, one option going to be trigger base, which means when somebody drops a new file, that'll trigger this job to run, and then it'll run and it'll drop the new file to SFTP, which again S3 bucket. But I think it has to be that way, because if you don't do it that way, if you were to do it on schedule that said, hey, just run the job at the end of the day or once a week, that's where it becomes a little bit tough. Well, okay, how do they know what to get? Like which files to pull? You would either have to do some kind of parameter filtering, like any file with a modified date, what was in a range or something. But I think trigger base would be the option. I want you to upload to S3 as a backup, and then only trigger when there's a new file or a file is modified. So yeah, if it's trigger based, then that would be the way to do it. So let me look at triggers. When a file is created, there you go. When a file is created or modified, this is what I was looking for. Got it. Cool. So this would be when a file is created or modified, and then of course select your site, documents. Let's go to share documents, data 2022, and sales. That's my folder. Let's see what else is in here. Limit columns by view, avoid. No, we don't need to do nothing there. So this property here is strictly for when file is created. What I did here, this is when file is created or modified. So let me go ahead and delete this guy. I don't need it. Oh man, so it deleted everything that I had here, which is fine. What I could do here is, so for example, where's my attachment? Here goes attachment. So attachment would be something. So again, I know this is through email, but the concept is the same. Where's my SharePoint stuff? So it will be the SharePoint, the name, folder name with extension, and then it'll be the content, which would be, where is it? Where's the content at? Man, why do I not see this? Let me see. Oh, it applied it to an each process. When a file is created or modified, okay, that makes sense. This is not needed. But this, so again, I would have to see what I did on the video. But I know what we did is I think we did a schedule base. We just pull everything down. In your case, that would be different, that step, and it ultimately will be replaced with when a file is created or modified. And this is where you specify the folder and all of that. So what would happen, let me move this, see if I can move this to the front. Let me go back real quick to what I had it. Alright, no, there is no trigger. I'm not sure why this is the case. Because that's what this is for. So let's go to SharePoint trigger. When file is created or modified. Which again, why is it there is no trigger for this logical app? But what I don't see is my I think, what is it called? I think it's called attachment contents. And that's not an option for some reason, which is kind of odd. Attachment contents. Let me see. I mean, yeah, again, I don't know if it's because of... Like, let me do this. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll play around with it. So, it is something like that. You got to play around with it, though. But I think whatever step is that's there right now for that, try something like this. And then just try dropping a file, modifying the file, and see if that ultimately... Now, I think the thing about it, though, that app is probably schedule-based. Which it's ultimately going to change to trigger-based. I'm just not sure why this one it's saying there's no trigger, which this step is trigger-based. I don't know, it just seems kind of odd. I'm not sure why that's the case. Settings. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is... again, we'll have to play around with it, but it's something like that anyways. Um, this is something else that I was playing around with. Um, Man, all right, damn, it's already 10. About to be 10:45. So, man, I got a little bit sidetracked today. We started doing different things. Started talking about different things. We were supposed to go over Redshift Spectrum, but Python developer, I know what you're trying to do. I have some ideas. So what I'm gonna do, man, I'm gonna add it to my list. I will be making a video related to using Redshift Spectrum. You know, having some CSV files. So I need to put some files together, put some sample data together, put it into an S3 bucket, kind of go through the process of how to create external tables, link them to the right S3 bucket, and then be able to, you know, do some testing on some queries to kind of see how all of that operates. So I'll work on that, man. Python developer. I know we didn't get to it on the live stream. I'll work on that, and I'll be making a video related to that. So hopefully the video will kind of give you some guidance and kind of show you how to get that set up. It's really not that it's not that bad to kind of to do it, right? It's actually somewhat straightforward, but I'll make a video, man. I'll put it together, and then hopefully that helps you out, gives you some insight as well. And but guys, again, man, like I always have fun, man. It's always good talking to y'all here in the live stream. I enjoyed talking to y'all, and it's always good, man. Again, they got some big plans for the channel, and it's gonna come, man. It's gonna happen little bit by little bit. So I'll keep y'all up to date on certain things as well as what's going on, and yeah, man. I'm gonna be, again, if y'all want to get involved in any way, you're more than welcome, you know, and because I will be, you know, getting some people involved when it comes to being a mod for Discord, or, you know, people that are that's going to kind of be helping out on some of the projects, and they're going to be working on things. Either way, guys, I'll keep everybody up to date on stuff, and yeah, man. Again, always fun talking to y'all, man. Take care, man. You take care too, man. Have yourself a good weekend. Take care. And talk to you later, man. I'll be on again next week. Again, every Friday I'll be on. So I'll talk to y'all then. Peace.